Welcome, Space Mob, to another episode of the AST Space Odyssey podcast. Appreciate you all tuning in to this week's show. Special shout out to everyone who has been showing love to this show. We got a lot of great comments going, and it's nice that you guys appreciate this. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I'm just glad that I was able to take that next step, and I'm glad to see you guys were enjoying it. I want to make this like the number one kind of show out there, YouTube podcast, where we can just kind of just have a talk about this stock and this company. Because I think like a lot of us just read, whether it's Twitter or just anywhere online about this company, but it's good to kind of just have some audio, some video, something to kick back and watch and get hyped about the stock, because I don't think there's anything more to get hyped of in the stock market right now. So how the show is going to work, since like we are just starting and I'm just kind of like doing this like at my house, we're going to do bi-weekly. I was going to do weekly, but I think these require just a little more research and a little more time to put together. And this way we can kind of keep the information and topics fresh. So unless there is some like groundbreaking news, like AST has some breaking news, maybe a partnership or something, but for those ones we will do like a show like right then, even shorter, just to kind of discuss that. So appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you follow, subscribe. Thanks for the love, thanks for the good comments. It's good to know you guys like appreciate this, and I'm ready to just get the ball rolling and keep this content coming to you guys. So today we're gonna cover variety of things. So like what I'm gonna do mostly is just talk about recent news and then kind of pick a topic to dive into. So today we're just gonna go over the recent news, and then we're gonna dive into the current AST analyst price targets at some of the top banks, and we're just gonna see. I've been reading these reports all week long, and I just kind of got some bullet points from kind of each report and what they highlight, as long as with their price targets. And at the end, I will give my price target. So this week, we've had some good news, and what's really impressed me a lot this week is how like the Space Mob on Twitter, how like they've like we all find out like information before AST even releases any information. Like we scour the internet, we have our resources, and we can find this information before the market even knows, which is something I've never really seen in an investment community, because usually it's like, yeah, this gets posted on Bluebird terminal and then the stock like flies up and people know. But here it's kind of like behind the scenes of research, which I find very intriguing, and it's something I'm glad to be a part of. Shout out to the people who do find this info. My boy Cook and Catsy, they, if you're on Twitter, you're familiar with them. They find great information, and before it's even released. And so the kind of first main thing is our new vice president, Louis Abud. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but great to see us building up that team. The day it was announced, the stock ran 16%. I personally don't think it was exactly tied to that. I just think that the stock was being suppressed, and we got some good news, and the shorts were squozing. They probably will be more, but it's just good to see some the team building. And in this case, I think this is a great candidate for what he's going to be doing here as vice president, because at Nokia, he worked for the head of sales and partnerships for Hyperscale, and he also led the team for head of emerging technologies before that for quite some time. So his like statement on joining AST was, as the vice president, I will be responsible for driving the company's commercial strategy in America and overseeing all sales and customer engagement activities. I will work in cross-collaboration with a very talented team to achieve revenue goals, expand market share, and foster strong relationships with clients and partners. This is a very important job here, and diving into this guy's past, and see that he has collaborated with some key industry players such as Apple, Meta, AWS, Google, Microsoft, and other satellite providers. It just shows that he already has established these partnerships when he worked for Nokia. So it's good to know that if he does propose anything to some of these big companies, that they kind of already know who he is, and they know that he was the head of emerging technologies at Nokia, and Nokia has been one of the OG phone brands. So that this guy who was in charge of emerging technology there notices what ASTS, SpaceMobile, is capable of just speaks a lot to volume there. That he would leave his job there to really move to something that's forward thinking in terms of mobile technology. And I found this very, very cool. Also, before he worked at Nokia, he managed the entire operation of Nira networks in Brazil. So it just shows like he was the head at a smaller Brazilian mobile network operator, but it shows that if he can be in charge of one, he can form partnerships with ones like that, which is helpful. He understands the small network operators, and he will be able to use that understanding to grab more partnerships for us and more users just overall is what's going to make AST stand out in this space. So, and another thing that was really cool to see was seeing our president on Scott on Bloomberg TV talking about just the mission here, and it's really cool that because everyone knows SpaceX, so it's cool when these big massive media companies will put that as a headline comparing us, saying, "Oh, SpaceX rival," but like people like to say, "Yeah, like we're not rival; it's a different thing." But at the end of the day, being put up on a pedestal next to SpaceX, who's valued at over $200 billion, while we're still down here, is pretty impressive. And with that, you can just kind of see that people are grasping onto this, and I think that's very interesting. And I'm okay with being put up next to a company of that size and strength, 100%. So some speculation here. It looks like Bluebird 2 may have unfurled. I mean, nothing official, but Catsy, he saw 110 base order of magnitude drop, which he was able to call out the last one, and it kind of looks similar to what happened last time. And also with the Cook report, KOOK, great analyst, he was able to analyze some data charts among satellites, and it appears that it unfurled. And I mean, these guys are such like wizards and experts when it comes into this that when they post these charts or like coding readings, I personally don't understand them, but they do a great job of analyzing it and kind of letting us know what they think is happening, because there are tools in place that monitors the satellites in outer space, and they're able to analyze that and see kind of what could be happening to AST. Obviously nothing like 100% until Abel or the team like tweets it with hopefully another picture, but there's still like some speculation that happened, which I think is really cool, and shout out to these guys for figuring that out. And another really cool thing, that we might have a new MNO, which is a very, very big company, American Mobile. They are South American and Mexican based mobile network operator, and it looks like in the recent call here, they did state that there is a potential of, like, someone asked them, "Hey, how are you working for like connectivity in the future?" talking about satellites, and then they said that we're like talking and working with SpaceX and AST SpaceMobile to like expand the network and keep it moving forward. I mean, at the same time, they did announce SpaceX, but I think kind of once they see Starlink satellites to mobile compared to ours, that's going to be a pretty good selling point. And we can also do a thing like a cross collaboration where they can handle certain aspects of it. Maybe start with some of the like emergency texting with them, and then as AST develops into like a full network, we are there for the 5G and all the high speed stuff. So, but looking into this MNO, they have 380 million users, which is all like insane. So like if we do end up signing a deal with them, one of the biggest mobile network operators, and we can add 300 million more potential users to the list. And excluding China and India, it's actually the world's largest MNO in terms of mobile subscribers, and it operates in 22 countries. So the fact that their top guys are mentioning AST potential partnerships in their earnings calls and meetings just could point at something that's very positive in the future. Once again, like this is something that isn't 100% confirmed to be like a real partnership, obviously, because we haven't seen an announcement, but we are able to know that they are speaking of our company and that they are considering using us, which would be huge. So that's kind of all the recent news here. This has mostly been the past week. It's been a pretty positive week. I think over the week, ASD is up about 20%, which is good. I think the thing with the stock is not even like just, I mean, like obviously it's kind of entertaining to watch the day to day, but like if you just go in with the mindset, it's like, I don't really care because I don't plan on selling anytime soon. It just kind of eases it when it might go stagnant and drop 20%, like over a few days, like we kind of saw, because it's like I might be losing money now, but it doesn't even matter because it's not even in my vocabulary to sell AST. It's not even there. And we're going to dive into why by going over some of these analyst price targets. So these pretty much all week I've just been kind of diving into these reports, and there's a lot of really cool, interesting things. So just kind of overall, so based on the 12-month price target, so in the past year, the analyst price targets, the average price target is 43.73, which would almost be, I don't know, 30-40% from here, I would say. And highest estimates and the lowest over the past 12 months is $30. So that just shows you like $30 is close to where it's at, and I think it's got potential that once it does surpass this and kind of holds above it, that we might see some more upgrades. So first, we're going to dive into Scotia Bank. I kind of have here kind of previous upgrades so we can kind of see where these banks have been at and their interest over time. So Scotia Bank, they started the upgrades this spring in March and April. They gave and reiterated a price target of $7.50. And this was when AST was quite low in the 2s and 3s and 4s range. And I remember seeing these reports, and I was like, finally, like someone is catching on here. A big bank is doing coverage, talking about it, and when it's $2 saying the price target is $7.50, you're like, wow, that's like 250 or so percent, and it's exciting. But then as the year went on, and as we made more advancements, May they bumped it up to $12.90. July they bumped it to $21. August $28, and then later in August, and it's cool because like once they did more research, they were like, wow, they bumped it to $45.90. So to just show in a year that Scotia Bank went from $7.50 to $45.90 just shows you that they believe, and this is a massive bank here, and I think it speaks volume that they believe in this stock. So now we're gonna get into some of these notes. These are all like notes of the recent reports. I will try to link them in the description on these so you guys can access the reports yourself if you want to read through them. They're very useful, and it's just cool to see kind of where these analysts and these banks are at in terms of the technology. So the recent upgrade from 28 to 4590, it was driven by key developments in the company's technology and partnerships. So I think like the realization of us working with like Verizon, Google, and the U.S. government is just really substantial to them, and they saw that. One thing that really made them bump it, especially with these like recent kind of disasters, is they were like diving into FirstNet, who could be a potential partner, and they approved a $2 billion investment over the next 10 years to enhance its networks. So, and as we've seen, they do plan to enable satellite direct-to-device technology, and that just opens up extreme potential for AST SpaceMobile. Just knowing this government company has $2 billion to put towards the mission, and if they choose us over the next 10 years, that's just great revenue and investments and partnerships. And another thing that was like really nicely highlighted was kind of them kind of diving into the tech and the phase array technology, and kind of notice that our technology we built here allows them to comply with the FCC interference limits, and they think that our kind of work with the FCC and not having this like fuss back and forth kind of puts us ahead of SpaceX in this space, and it gives us that competitive edge that we have a good standing with the FCC, and we are able to abide within their limits because we know we have to. And they think that like if these FCC rules do stay firm, that SpaceX may need to redesign satellites or consider alternatives. And they even mentioned that like buying ASTS or their patents, because due to our patent protected technology and superior beam precision, we are ahead. And if the FCC does crack down with interference and limits, this just puts AST ahead because of what we already have in place. 17 more Bluebird satellites are set to launch in early 2025, and that's just going to expand it more. And just like seeing that we do have these launches in our books and our satellites are pumping, it's just something that gets them really, really, really into it. So kind of back on the like FirstNet thing, the emergency response revenues revised greatly for the future. For 2026, kind of like there's models out there that predict things like these, and the emergency response revenues that was projected to be at 60 million, and now it's at 150 million. So this just shows that there is demand for this service and for the public safety and defense agents globally. And people are Scotia Bank here notice kind of the benefits of working with these MNOs for them, because our technology could save them up to like billions of dollars annually in capital expenses and tons of money in terms of towers, because these giant cell towers cost tons of money to run, tons of money to build, tons of money to run, like millions and millions, and we just saw Verizon offload a ton of them, because if this technology moves forward to how it is, we won't need as many of these towers, and then that's less money they have to spend to maintain them, less money they have to spend to power them, less money they have to spend to keep them running, and it's just amazing. Another thing obviously they highlighted is that the major telecom companies, AT&T, Verizon, Rakuten, Vodafone, are in agreements with AST, so that just puts us ahead that we have it. And so another thing, obviously, this is something I touched on last time, and ways to make revenue. The AT&T CEO stating how he wanted to offer a connected anywhere package, and this just adding $10 to $15 per line on reoccurring revenue onto a already existing subscription is substantial, because that just becomes renewed revenue for AST. It just will keep coming in, and it's on a subscription added to theirs. So that has potential to bring in like billions of revenue as well, because they have so many people signed up, and if they just hit about 30 to 40% of their customers, which is what they expect, that want permanent activity, that can be substantial growth revenue for this company, and that helps them come up with the figures for the price target. And so like pretty much like summarizing the Scotia Bank report is that they think they're well positioned for significant growth as it expands its satellite constellation, secures key contracts, and continues to revolutionize mobile connectivity across the globe. That one's probably my favorite report. It's not even the highest target, but I just like their details and how they kind of like think outside the box with revenue models, and really, I feel like they really see the potential. So the next one is Deutsche Bank, which is our highest price target at this time. So going back, and they actually started initiating coverage in 2021, and I remember them being one of the first big banks to hop in here. And their first kind of update was like where no company has gone before, like where no mobile connector or anything has gone. So they saw, when we were still very early stages and there was still like a lot of questions here, they saw the potential and gave us a $35 price target in 2021. And now here we are, like all this time later, and if we're hit that and we're almost here. But it's funny to think that 3 years ago they really saw the potential here. Then like over time they did revise it a little bit. In 2023 they did downgrade to 23 to 19, and then kind of once we started these new partnerships, like once we got Verizon, Google on, they upped it to 22, and then this September they upgraded it from 22 to 63. And I remember this happening, and I was like, wow, $63, like that's just it's so cool that like a bank, an analyst with this big of a kind of network and really thinks that AST is going to shine, and I think that's amazing here. And they changed the valuation on base case scenario, reflecting our improvements in the technology and partnerships. They knew like all the launch stuff was coming. They saw the partnerships that they said, all right, we're going to hop in this and we're going to provide coverage and show people. And like formalizing these key partnerships with AT&T and Verizon, which are like the two largest in the United States, is just absolutely insane. So even before this our Bluebird launches, they did highlight in this upgrade that we are on track to launch our first 5 commercial satellites, and kind of like where we're expected to be in the next couple years. And they're expecting that we have global coverage by 2027, and at least U.S. coverage by 2026, which is awesome. So they projects positive EBITDA by 2026 at $221 million, growing to $4 billion by 2030. So they really think once this thing takes off and is active, it's just gonna grow every year. Bam, bam, bam. Hey, more subscribers, more MNOs, more partnerships. They see it. They obviously highlight the risk here, which is always good to do when you do set a price target this high. They said I think it's good to go over the risks so people can kind of understand, and so they think like launch failures, technology shortcomings, competition, and funding needed. But progress suggests funding opportunities will be secured, particularly through export financing and strategic investors. So they don't think funding, I mean, we have seen these offerings before, but they do think that with the partnerships we currently have, that we will not run out of money because they have our back like we have theirs. Another note is that our total addressable market includes about 30 million mobile users, and with there being 1.6 billion unconnected people globally, that the growth potential is just insane. Like, we already have kind of this market here for us, and someone needs to address it, and they think AST will be the one, and also do I. So they really put this, like in summarizing, they really put this price target high because they have confidence in our ability to execute its plan and capitalize on market opportunities, which is something that we have seen. So a few other price targets. We have UBS here. I couldn't really find like an exact report here, but I did see that they did initiate coverage in March of this year at $7. Then in June, put it to $13, and then August, $30, which is about where we are now. So they were right on. Kind of like the main quote and thing they pointed out here is that while they still see it as a high risk investment, initial U.S. regular high reward investment, initial U.S. regulatory approval, and the imminent launch, which we already saw, that combined with partner funding progress, it adds to their conviction and the commercialization and scalability of our plan, which is great to hear. It's great to hear that they have trust in us, and I think it's just something that's very important here. So some of our other price targets here are we have B. Riley, and I'm only gonna like touch upon these two because these are ones that have not initiated coverage since 2022, and the price target remains at 15. So it shows that there is potential for these banks to look into this and say, hey, we gave a $15 price target 2 years ago. It has surpassed that. It's probably going to stay over that. It's kind of and then they'll probably bump it more. So them and Barclays both have a $15 price target. A lot of them just kind of say the same thing, is that they have great partnerships. It is kind of risky based on capital needs, competition, and approvals, but they are in a good place to excel here and to take over the market. And I think a lot of these do highlight the same things, where we have to make sure the technology works, which we have seen worked with our Blue Walker, and that the competition might be there, and then it just relies on some approvals. So with Barclays, they actually started coverage in 2021 with a $29 price target, and that was very generous for the time. And then they continued to kind of lower it, which is kind of a bit disappointing. And they also have not done any coverage in about 3 years. So I think the opportunity is there for these big banks, especially ones that have done coverage and that targets at 15. I think the potential for a new target, say once we do sign a new operator, say once all 5 satellites are unfurled and tested, I think that's when price updates will come, because people will see. It's just people will see the de-risking factor here. And I think that's what draws to a lot of these price targets and such is just them seeing, okay, this is a big de-risking event. I trust putting my coverage out there. I trust it providing this information to the bank I work for. Like, that's what these analysts are doing. They're providing coverage to the bank they work for and to people so they can hype it up and buy it. And like, at the end of the day, these funds own a lot of these shares. Like, BlackRock has added tons and tons of shares. Unfortunately, they can't really do coverage because they're a fund, but they hold about 5.7% of the total float. And that just shows you, like, the number one investment firm in the whole world has this big of a stake in this company. Like, they wouldn't be buying this company if they thought that failure was possible. And like, these big banks, I don't think would be initiating this coverage and providing this detailed research based off something that could fail. I think they see the opportunity. They've seen the testing. They know our partners, who are all very established brands, and they see, hey, if they trust, if Verizon, AT&T, Google, the U.S. government trusts them with their money, with millions of dollars, we can trust them with our investment. And I think that's the kind of the main, like, everything I kind of talked about in their coverage is something that I think we can all relate to here. And I think it's something that SpaceMob has very particular about. And I think we all kind of come from the same spot where we say, we see this potential, we know what this company is capable of, and being able to have those thoughts and feelings reiterated by banks with billions of dollars, with funds with almost $1 trillion, and just overall space, I think we're in a good spot. I appreciate you guys tuning in today. I think we're gonna wrap this one up, but I'm excited to cover some more topics. We're going to do kind of like a SpaceX AST comparison soon. And then we're also going to try to find some special guests. So let's hope we get some really good news coming up. I have a good feeling, honestly, with the Unfurling 2 maybe have happened. And one of the biggest MNOs kind of mentioning us in an earnings call. I think good things are on the horizon. And if we can get FirstNet and the U.S. government involved too, as long as these satellites up and tested, I think AST is at a better spot than it ever has. So thank you guys once again. Appreciate the support. Make sure you follow and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.